My grandfather used to say, "The quietest roots grow the strongest trees." I never truly understood him until I became the tree. Until silence turned into power. Until the night the people who once pitied me finally had to look up. My name is Isabella Cruz. And this is the story of how I went from being the afterthought at my sister's perfectly curated life to owning the company she worshipped, while still smelling like guava pastries and early mornings at our family bakery in Little Havana. For years, I let them believe I was just the girl who stayed behind, the one who helped in the kitchen, who built a little app thing, and who married the kind of man who smiled when others mocked her. But what they never saw, what they never bothered to ask, is what I was building when they weren't watching. And the night Mariana Cruz threw her career's biggest gala? That's when everything changed. Before we start, take a moment. What time is it right now? And where are you tuning in from? Let me know in the comments. This story, it might feel strangely personal. I grew up above a bakery that smelled like melted sugar and roasted espresso beans, tucked between the murals and music of Little Havana. Our family shop, Panaderia Cruz, was more than a business. It was a classroom, a church, a legacy built on powdered hands and 18-hour days. By age 9, I was labeling pastry boxes and counting change faster than my cousins could finish a game of dominoes. At 12, I was running weekly inventory and flagging mismatched supplier invoices. By 13, I had already renegotiated a guava puree contract with our cafe neighbor to split bulk orders and cut delivery costs by 20%. Business brain on a child's shoulders, my abuelo used to say, tapping my forehead with flour-dusted fingers. "You'll build something big one day, Mija." While my sister Mariana posed for her sweet 16 photos in imported gowns, I was studying margins on empanada sales. While other kids were memorizing pop lyrics, I was buried in library books about scalable operations and microfinance models. My parents Lucia and Javier worked from dawn to long past dusk, their backs sore but their spirits high. They put every extra dollar into my education, believing their quiet daughter might one day change the world from a different kind of storefront. At 17, I earned a full scholarship to NYU. At 23, I launched a beta version of what would become Orenda Capital, a data-driven microloan platform designed to empower immigrant entrepreneurs with limited access to traditional banks. By 28, it was valued in the tens of millions. But I didn't broadcast it, not even to my family. Because while Mariana collected LinkedIn awards and curated networking brunches, I found my strength in stillness. I didn't need applause. I needed progress. And I knew, one day, the silence would speak louder than the noise. Orenda Capital wasn't born in a boardroom. It started in a borrowed corner of a community library in Queens, fueled by coffee, stubbornness, and the belief that people like my parents, immigrants with grit but no credit history, deserved better tools. I coded the beta myself. Cold pitched our first partners. Pitched again and again. Eventually, we caught fire, slow, steady, and undeniable. By year 2, Orenda was quietly serving over 10,000 users. By year 4, we secured $20 million in community-driven investment and closed a landmark deal with a Southeast private equity firm. But still, no press releases, no splashy headlines. I wanted to build something that worked, not something that looked good. Around that time, I met Daniel Reyes at a used bookstore off Coral Way. I was in old jeans and a Panaderia Cruz hoodie, reading a behavioral finance case study on my tablet when he knocked over an entire shelf of cookbooks. "Whoa, sorry," he laughed, scrambling to help. "No worries," I said, smiling. "Let me buy you a cafecito for the mess." That cafecito turned into 3 hours of talking, and within months, he became the one person I thought saw me really saw me. Daniel was a high school civics teacher, smart, grounded, deeply kind. He cared about public housing, fair pay, and progressive curriculum. He wasn't dazzled by IPOs or investment circles. That felt refreshing. When he proposed, I didn't hesitate. But not everyone celebrated. Mariana's older sister, freshly promoted at Vallon and Cross, raised an eyebrow and barely masked her disapproval. At a family dinner, wine in hand, she offered a toast to Isabella, the romantic. Still running the bakery and that little app thing, hen. I smiled tightly, even as I swallowed the truth. Orenda had just signed a multi-year contract with her firm. But I said nothing. Because some people learn better from silence, and I was getting very good at letting the truth arrive. Exactly when it needed to. It was at our parents' house in Coconut Grove, gleaming countertops, fresh orchids in every corner, that Mariana made the announcement. "Valen and Cross just promoted me to senior director," she said, holding her wine glass like it was a crown. "We're hosting a gala next month. Formal, waterfront. Real clients this time." Cheers erupted. Mom clasped her hands together with theatrical delight. "Ay, Mija, we're so proud. Your abuela would have cried." I smiled politely and sipped my cafecito. Then Mariana turned to me with a perfectly practiced smile. The kind that glittered, but never reached her eyes. "Isabella," she said sweetly, "since you've got experience in food service and logistics, would you mind managing the catering team that night?" The table went quiet for half a second. Lucia, our mother, jumped in, oblivious. "Perfect idea. You always handle chaos so well." "I'd be happy to help," I replied calmly, locking eyes with Mariana. She smirked, satisfied, already turning her attention to color palettes and signature cocktail ideas. That night, Daniel leaned over as we cleared plates. "You don't have to do this," he whispered. "Say you're busy, say you're sick." But my mind was already elsewhere. "No," I said gently. "I want to help. It's her big night, after all. Everything should run smoothly." What no one at that table knew was this. That very morning, I'd received a message from James Valen himself, the CEO of Valen and Cross. He wanted to meet the anonymous innovator behind Orenda Capital, the very firm that had been licensing our analytics tools for nearly 2 years. The very platform that Mariana's department had used to secure her last promotion. He'd be attending the gala, and suddenly, everything shifted. Because while Mariana was rehearsing her big speech, I was preparing a different kind of announcement tone that would echo far beyond crystal glasses and rented linen. Sometimes, the best way to answer disrespect is to let the truth take the mic. The Cruz estate had never looked more like a Pinterest dream. Crystal chandeliers sparkled under hired spotlights. String quartets played Vivaldi near the garden fountain. Servers floated past with silver trays of truffle hors d'oeuvres and mango-glazed shrimp. And me? I stood in the back hallway, headset on, clipboard in hand, coordinating a catering team that was 2 servers short thanks to Mariana's last-minute menu changes. "Miss Cruz?" A nervous waiter approached. "Your sister wants the champagne passed at 8:15 exactly, but also wants tray service ongoing, and one of the ice sculptures is melting." I smiled reassuringly. "We've handled worse with a broken freezer and 40 guava rolls. Don't worry, we've got this." Howled. From behind the service archway, I watched the crowd build. Mariana glided from group to group like royalty. Her sleek silk gown shimmered, and every laugh she gave was a little too loud, a little too forced. Then I heard it. "Did you see Isabella?" She giggled to a group of executives from Valen and Cross. "She's with the catering team tonight. Honestly, it's where she feels most at home." Polite chuckles followed. Lucia added gently, "We always try to include her. But you know, with her background." I passed by just in time to catch the end of her sentence. "We can only do so much." They didn't see me, but I saw everything. At 7:55 p.m., my phone buzzed a text from my CFO. "All signed, final docs delivered, welcome to the next chapter." I slipped my phone back into my pocket and exhaled. Across the courtyard, Mariana raised her glass, basking in compliments, floating higher and higher on borrowed pride. And just behind her, entering quietly through the main garden gate, was James Valen, CEO, billionaire, and the man about to drop a truth no one in that room was ready for. The champagne was chilled, the spotlight set, and the quiet sister was ready to make some noise. "Mr. Valen is here," one of the servers whispered, eyes wide. I nodded, smoothing down my black dress and stepping toward the edge of the courtyard. Across the marble patio, Mariana spotted him and practically sprinted. "Mr. Valen, we're so honored to have you tonight." She extended a manicured hand. He shook it absently, eyes already scanning the room. Then he saw me. A flicker of recognition passed over his face. He took a step forward. "Wait, is that?" Mariana laughed nervously. "Oh, don't mind her. That's my sister Isabella. She's helping with service tonight. She's practical." I stepped forward calmly. Good evening, James. He smiled, genuine this time. Isabella Cruz. I didn't expect to see you serving drinks at your own celebration. Mariana blinked. Excuse me? James turned slightly, facing the crowd. Given that Arenda Capital finalized acquisition of a controlling interest in Vallon and Cross this morning, I assumed this event was meant to announce the merger. The courtyard went dead silent. Even the harpist stopped mid-note. Glasses stilled. Conversations died. Heads turned toward me. Mariana's wine flute slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble. Some mistake, she stammered. Isabella? She bakes. She runs a little startup. She's not. Oh, but she is, James said, clearly amused now. Founder and CEO of Arenda Capital. As of 10 a.m. today, her firm owns 51% of Vallon and Cross, including your department. He turned back to me. Those algorithm optimizations you suggested? Brilliant. Our engineers are still talking about them. I nodded, voice steady. Glad to hear they landed well. Lucia wobbled slightly, reaching for a chair. This can't be. She couldn't. But I did, I said, and I've done it for years while being told I wasn't enough. I faced Mariana, who looked pale, lips parted but speechless. And all those times you reminded me I didn't belong? I was busy building something you'd never see coming. Across the lawn, Daniel stood frozen, guilt etched across his face. He wasn't the only one realizing they'd underestimated the wrong woman. After the announcement, the ripple of silence didn't just linger, it deepened. You could hear the wind threading through the palms, the click of melting ice in untouched glasses, the breathing of people watching a world quietly shift. James stepped aside to take a call, leaving a stunned room in his wake. Mariana stormed toward me, heels clacking like warning shots. You humiliated me, she hissed, voice tight and trembling. In front of every major contact I built. No, I replied, voice calm. You humiliated yourself. I simply didn't stop you. Her mouth opened to retort, but nothing came out. Lucia appeared beside her, cheeks flushed, voice low and pleading. Isabella, please, we're family. This isn't how we do things. I turned to face her fully. No, Mama. For 3 years, you sat me with the servers, cropped me out of photos, referred to me as a sweet girl with potential while bragging about Mariana's bonus. When exactly did I become family? She faltered, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. Then Daniel moved forward, looking pale. Why didn't you tell me? He asked softly. I wanted to, I said. But every time you stayed quiet while your family mocked me, I realized something. If you couldn't respect me as a baker, you didn't deserve to know me as a CEO. His voice broke. I love you, Han. I shook my head gently. Love without respect isn't love. It's decoration. I slipped off my ring and placed it on the edge of the champagne table. I filed for divorce last week. You'll be hearing from my attorney. Daniel took a step back, stunned. Mariana whispered, What do you want from me? I met her eyes. Growth and consequences. I paused. Starting Monday, you'll be working on our new community outreach initiative, financial literacy for local food vendors. You'll report to Mom. Mariana's face twisted. You're joking. I didn't blink. Lucia still runs the bakery. She'll be your manager. Punctuality matters. And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving behind 3 people who'd spent years measuring value by appearances. They were about to learn what real substance looked like. As the last guests filtered out and the staff began clearing shattered glass and uneaten tarts, I stood quietly beneath the courtyard lights, watching the pieces fall into place. James Vallon joined me with 2 flutes of champagne. Well, he said, handing one over, that may be the most effective leadership transition I've ever witnessed. I smirked. Wasn't in the brochure, I'm guessing. He raised his glass. To new beginnings, Mrs. Cruz. Just Isabella, I replied. And this is only the beginning. Earlier that week, I had finalized a second D loan no one at the gala knew about yet. The Cruz estate, our family home turned showroom of pride, had been quietly sold. To me. As of that morning, it now belonged to the Arenda Foundation, a non-profit arm of Arenda Capital dedicated to supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs, training food vendors, and offering microloans to local service workers. The estate would become our headquarters, a space for real Chanjanat cocktail parties. When I announced it the next day to Valen and Cross's board, the room was silent. Then came a question. Why not keep the estate in your name? I answered simply, because legacy isn't what you inherit, it's what you build. And you don't build it by hoarding, you build it by lifting. Later that night, back at the bakery, Lucia stood beside me behind the counter, still stunned but surprisingly composed. She boxed pan de bono like old times. I never saw this in you, she whispered. I paused, then looked her in the eye. You weren't supposed to see it. You were supposed to respect me before it was visible. She nodded slowly. I see you now. And that was enough. Because I didn't need revenge. I needed clarity. And clarity had finally come with a fight, but with a foundation. 6 months later, I sat in my usual spot at the bakery counter, same stool, same view of the street where my childhood unfolded. Only now, my inbox pinged with licensing requests from venture funds. My calendar was packed with meetings not just about capital but about impact. The estate had been transformed. No longer a showroom of pretense, it now pulsed with live financial literacy seminars, workshops for local bakers, startup clinics for immigrant founders. And yes, Mariana reported in every Monday morning, hair tied back, apron on, working beside our mother. There was resistance at first, bitterness lingering like perfume. But then, humility grew. Quietly. Lucia, once so quick to protect image over integrity, now gave lectures on generational wealth through work ethic, not social standing. And Dad Javier finally spoke up. Not in grand speeches, but in small, steady affirmations. You were right, he told me once, setting a cafecito beside my laptop. Respect should never be delayed until someone's impressive. As for Daniel, he never tried to win me back. But he did send a handwritten letter. You taught me what real strength looks like. I'm sorry I didn't recognize it in time. I didn't respond. Some doors aren't meant to be reopened. And yet, I held no anger. Only forward motion. Because I had finally learned, success isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right and refusing to shrink until they're ready to understand. If you've ever been dismissed for being too quiet, too practical, too unlike their version of success, then hear this. Your strength is not in how loud you are. It's in how deeply you build, even when no one claps. And eventually, if you keep building long enough, the very people who overlooked you, they'll have to stand in what you created and realize it was you holding them up all along. If you've ever been made to feel like the afterthought, the background, the quiet one, who would never quite measure up, then maybe, like me, you were never supposed to fit in. Because some of us weren't born to follow a path. We were meant to build our own. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is let them underestimate you, then let the truth speak for itself when it's ready. I didn't need a louder voice. I needed a longer vision. And if this story reminded you of your own, even a little, don't wait for the world to catch up before you begin. Start building. Start owning your space. Because quiet doesn't mean invisible. And dignity doesn't ask for permission. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.